It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Field! Number 70!
We're talking about practice.
Hello, you play to win the game.
The Yankees are champions of baseball!
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
3, 2, 1, happy 2000!
No time on the clock, and the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Jordan open! Chicago with the lead!
Worldwide Sports Radio Network presents Below the Mic.
Welcome to a new show of Below the Mic. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Mr. Speedy Petey, a.k.a. Mr. Tidy Whitey. Remember, you can call us at 631-500-0548. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And yes, you can download our app. Well, if you're not downloading our app, well, then you're going to have to look at Speedy's underwear. Anyways, if you haven't, all you got to do is go to iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I sent out a mass text, to all the Facebook users that listen to us. And I accidentally sent it to a guy that always keeps complaining not to send it to him because he became an eBay co-insisted star. And what I mean by that is he sold his fandom to the LA Lakers. Oh. Yes, Evan Permuter. Okay, so Mr. Evan Permuter, I'm sorry I sent you a group message because you're a fake New York fan, you're a fake sports fan, and you should sell your life and everything that owns behind it to eBay because you sold your fandom to an organization, to me, has bought their organization for year in, year out, all really for the last 40 or 50 years. So kiss my ass. How's that sound, Evan Permuter?
You know what's funny? I actually brought up his name to Greg, who just joined our network on Smoke and Mirrors last week. I actually brought his name up because he used to be a Knicks fan too. He didn't sell it, obviously, but he used to be a Knicks fan too, and he was talking to us after the show about how
is he a Laker fan now?
No, he's just not. He's not one specific team in basketball. He's just a basketball fan. But I told him about that and how he was like best friends with Matty Caps and he knew you and stuff like that. So.
I can't stand. No offense to the kid. I don't hate him as a person. I just don't like the fact that he has the nerve to tell me not to send him anything, and then all of a sudden take shots at the New York Knicks and the organization, because we all know the Knicks aren't a good organization. They're slowly but surely getting better with everything what Tom Thibodeau's doing, the Rose and Wesley, and obviously the new management of the organization. But for him to take shots at the New York Knicks organization, this is a guy that was a New York Knicks fan for about 30 years, and then all of a sudden sell his fandom to eBay and the LA Lakers. And now all of a sudden he's a LeBron James fan. It's a joke, an absolute joke. So Tony Rubo, Vinny Rubo, Evan Permuter, and Matty Caps can kiss my damn ass. How's that sound? Anyways, we do this every single Wednesday for Below the Mic, Speedy.
Sports and entertainment news.
How the Lakers can strike back 5 best targets right now. Speedy. Who would you think the Lakers should do and go after? There's a guy on the Spurs right now that might be available. Do you know what I'm talking about?
On the Spurs? Rudy Gay?
No.
I know his name's been brought up. LaMarcus Aldridge?
Not him.
Oh, I was going to say, you bring up LaMarcus Aldridge, that would be something.
Another superstar.
Ooh. One of their top players, Demar Derozan?
Demar Derozan, who has become available right now. Very, very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Demar Derozan will be traded at the trade deadline, which is a couple of weeks away. Actually, a week away. So, very, very interesting. 4 trade proposals to get Russell Wilson out of Seattle. Did you hear the one with the Sam Darnold?
Yeah, the one you told me earlier with the 4-way one was ridiculous. That one was... The Jets were going to get... They weren't even going to get a first-round pick of the deal. Were they going to... If the Broncos were involved...
A fifth.
It was a 4th, a 3rd, and Tim Patrick from the Broncos. And you didn't even mention the 4th team. I don't even remember who that was.
I don't remember.
How does that make any sense for anybody?
I think it was the Bears.
How does that make any sense for anybody if you're from the Jets standpoint?
I have no idea. The worst possible landing spots for every top NFL free agent. Well, I do believe Barrett is going to be available. I did not see him. He didn't get franchised.
He did not get franchise tag,
so
but
he
they're
is going to be
working on
available.
a long-term deal.
Yeah, they're working on it. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. So he is available. So where do you think he could go if they don't sign him?
Maybe he goes back to the Broncos. He's a familiar fit over there. Won a Super Bowl with them as a rookie, and similar schemes that Todd Bowles and Vic Fangio run with the zone blitz, with the blitz emphasis that they like to do. So I could see him going back there.
NFL rumors and news. Bears desperate for a quarterback, prepared to throw a boatload of picks for Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson. Very, very interesting. You see, Russell Wilson is going to be available. I don't know if Russell Wilson, the Bears are one of the teams that he proposed that he would like to go to. Why he would want to go there doesn't make any sense to me, because both teams have very bad offensive line. But Deshaun Watson is a guy that clearly wants out of the Texans, but I don't know if the Bears are one of the teams that he's interested in going to. More than likely, Russell Wilson, if there's any chance, he'd go to the Bears, and Deshaun Watson could go very much elsewhere. And I think the only two teams that possibly can land him is the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins.
From a trade perspective, the Bears make sense. But you're right. I don't know why Wilson would want to go there. Especially, I know Allen Robinson got franchise tag. That doesn't mean he's not happy or unhappy, though.
Jerry Jones seems to like to overpay people. Dak Prescott got a huge contract. You see, I think with Jerry, and it's so interesting, Jerry Jones, he didn't want to lose Lawrence. He gave Lawrence a big contract. He didn't lose Cooper. He didn't want to lose Cooper. He gave Cooper a big contract. He didn't want to lose Jalen Smith. He gave him a big contract. Now all of a sudden he gives Dak Prescott a big contract. I think Dak, out of all those guys, deserves it the most. Why does he overpay guys? That's going to be the question that Jerry Jones is going to have to answer when OTAs open up.
So far, Cooper is the only one who's played well since getting that contract. Smith's been hurt, so granted that hasn't helped, but Lawrence has struggled. And then don't forget about your boy, Ezekiel Elliott, who somebody who calls this show claims could run on Barry Sanders' offensive line.
Multiple teams inquiring about Patriots. N'Keal Harry, what do you think about that?
That's interesting. He hasn't fit there, obviously, yet. He's had injury issues. And again, that was my biggest concern, as much as I liked him as a prospect of when he got drafted. So I can see why they end up trading him. But at the same time, who else do they have over there to really afford to do that?
Rework contracts for Christian McCaffrey and Shaq Thompson to save the Panthers millions. I'm very surprised that Christian McCaffrey is doing this. I mean, this is a guy that should take as much money as he possibly can, being that he's a young running back and he has the opportunity to overexhaust his contract. This doesn't make any sense to me, Speedy.
It just shows you one thing about Christian McCaffrey. He has faith in what Matt Rule is doing and is willing to shed some money to make it happen, to build the right pieces around him, whether offensively or defensively.
NBA rumors and news. The Celtics actually really wanted to trade for James Harden because, of course, they didn't. So what do you think about that? That story is interesting. I didn't hear anything about the Celtics interested in James Harden.
Yeah, I don't know how much that's going to be realistic for the Celtics. That's not really what they need. They need more depth shooters more than anything else. They have the stars. Kemba Walker, when he's healthy, is a superstar. Brown and Tatum have both played phenomenally, but the depth has been the issue for them, and obviously, as we mentioned, the size.
Clippers plan for the trade deadline revealed. Now, it's interesting. I'm reading all different things that they could make. They need a playmaker, and they need offensive diversity.
They need size, too.
They need size. How about getting a big man who's available with the Cleveland Cavaliers? You know what I'm talking about.
Mr. Drummond.
That's right. I think he fits perfectly with them. He also fits perfectly with the Celtics.
Yep.
So that's something going to be very interesting moving forward. Miami Heat's $4.8 million incentive to waive Myers Leonard ASAP. What do you think about that?
Please do it. That was stupid what he said. Inappropriate.
We will talk about that in just 1 second. 5 ideal Victor Oladipo trade scenarios. One of them, the New York Knicks. Who do you see Victor Oladipo getting traded to? Because he's not going to be with the Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets, I've heard of doing a lot of this quote-unquote fire sale. It's very interesting. I could see a 76ers kind of thing working out there. They're looking for that other backcourt player to help out. Victor Oladipo could be a wing. He could be a point guard type player. And they need that other piece to keep up with the Nets and the Bucks.
Warriors attach high price to any trade involving James Wiseman or top 3 protected draft picks. What do you think about that?
That means they're going for something big if they're going to.
Are they really
Wiseman
thinking about trading Wiseman?
I wouldn't trade Wiseman, but again, if it means something big, who knows?
MLB rumors and news: the Texas Rangers to allow 100% capacity in the stadium on opening day. I'm not surprised. Texas opening up everything. Even Florida is opening up everything.
Yeah,
very interesting.
The two premature states. Yep, sounds about right.
Yankees, Zach Britton says he lost 18 pounds in 10 days after COVID-19 diagnosis, and then all of a sudden he needs surgery. So interesting. Losing a lot of weight might have affected his arm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting story. Off-season in review for the New York Yankees. I'm not going to go over the offseason. The Kluber move was very interesting, and DJ LeMahieu was just as big as any move that any team made in the offseason. New York Mets seen practicing how to celebrate winning the World Series in spring training.
Oh, God.
Are we kidding?
Oh, God.
Are we kidding? I don't know what's going on with this New York Mets team.
Even just saying it is prematurely generally doesn't work. It worked for the Broncos, Emmanuel Sanders, and it worked for the Eagles with Alshon Jeffrey, but that was even before he was traded to the Eagles. And then beyond that, every other premature celebration that I know of has gone to shreds.
NHL rumors and news: the Predators, Dante Fabro, suspended 2 games for elbowing Hurricanes Brock McGinn. Did you see that?
Yes, I did, and he's on my 20-team hockey league that I do at Mikey C. So now he will be dropped tonight.
You gonna drop him?
Yeah.
Interesting. And final news: the Rangers, Mr. Panarin returns to practice. What do you think about that? I think the Rangers need him.
Well, yeah, they desperately need him. They're, I think, 7-8 points back of Philadelphia right now for that fourth spot, and it's going to be very hard with the injuries they've had. Trouba did come back this week, which will help a little bit, but now that losing Shesterkin's going to hurt even more.
Yes, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is sports and entertainment news of the week, courtesy from Pro Sports Daily. I'm reading some of the articles throughout the day, and we usually go through them, and I pick the best articles that are intriguing. So if you guys want to check out the articles that I've mentioned, all you have to do is go to prosportsdaily.com. I'm actually promoting them. Could you imagine that?
Mm-hmm. I actually never heard of them until you introduced me to them 2-3 years
very
ago.
Very good website when it comes to articles. If you guys want to, and you can check out our articles. Our articles are great, too. So I'm tongue-twisted today. I don't know what the hell is going on with me today. But anyways, I do want to, before we get into some football, because there's a lot to get into when it comes to the NFL, especially we're about 3 weeks away from free agency, and that's going to be very intriguing and very interesting for a lot of NFL teams. I want to get into this Miles Leonard thing. Yeah. And first of all, if anybody doesn't know me, I'm Italian-American. I have some Russian blood, Spanish blood, German blood in me, and I do have Jewish blood in me, okay? And over the years, and we see some racist remarks throughout all these sports industry conglomerates. We talk about the NBA, we talk about the NHL, the NFL, the MLB. There's always been something going on when it comes to racism and anti-Semitic attacks when it comes to professional athletes. And when I heard this story, I didn't really get the chance to go on Twitch or check this out. I think it was completely washed away. I think the NBA has canceled and told Miles Leonard to cancel his Twitch. But the story that I read is Miles Leonard was on Twitch, which a lot of people tune into, and said some anti-Semitic things, taking shots at Jewish fans. I think it was a Jewish fan.
Yeah, it was Jewish players, whatever.
Jewish players, Jewish fans, and the culture of Judaism. Now, it's so interesting because there are so many attacks over the last couple of years from racism remarks and with Black Lives Matter and all the discussions that we have seen over the last couple of months, and really the COVID-19 year, the 2020 going into 2021, everybody has tried to protect what they say, not only to the social media markets, but throughout the press, throughout analysts, and everybody has protected what they said about racist remarks. Anti-Semitic remarks, and this is just as bad as being racist, okay? And when you talk about a guy, Myers Leonard, who is a black African-American, who is not a very popular player. He's not a superstar player in the NBA. He makes he makes about $10 million a year, which is ridiculous for a bench player that barely gets any time on the court. Coming out and taking shots at Jewish people, Jewish athletes, and saying anti-Semitic terms on, I guess a high-profile platform like Twitch is disgraceful.
And a big game in Call of Duty, I think, is what he was playing.
And
is one of the most popular games in the country.
And to me, when you think of a guy like Pat Riley, you think of the Miami Heat, a very well-respectable organization, and you look at Myers Leonard, who is a bench player. He shouldn't even be on the court. I think he should be suspended without any pay. Yep. I think Pat Riley needs to sit down with him and figure out if he needs to sit down and talk to somebody or if he needs some help. To me, it's completely disgraceful, Speedy. I mean, me as a person, I have Jewish blood in me. And when I heard this story, and Julian Edelman, which... shout out to Julian Edelman, an athlete, an NFL player who is Jewish, who has come out and spoken his piece and not taking shots at Myers Leonard. He actually wrote a letter to Myers Leonard that he wants to sit down and speak to him. Yeah. And he did that just past year against, who did he write to? I forget who he wrote to, but he wrote to somebody that actually said some anti-Semitic things too. And Julian Edelman, who has been really a guy that has approached and really stuck up for Jewish athletes, Jewish fans, is very, very interesting because I think that when you think of the game and the sports world, it's something that fans get away to. They go and they listen and they watch sports to get away from their lives, get away from all the things that they don't want to think about, maybe in debt or some of the money that they don't have now. And you talk about sports get you away from that. And when you talk about athletes that are playing video games, competing with fans on Twitch and all these different, I guess, game platforms, esports platforms, it's disgraceful when you have to come out and say the things that you say, knowing that the world and everything that's going on in the world with the racist and the anti-Semitic attacks through the KKK, and even some of the things that we've seen in the last couple of years out in the open with people killing innocent people.
By the way, it was Desean Jackson that he was informing when he had all that.
Desean Jackson.
Yeah, the Nazi or whatever the other thing.
The anti-Semitic attack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, Declan is saying something. Hey, man, just wanted to send this your way and see what you thought of the show. I will, by the way, Declan, I will check out everything. I am actually doing my show live, so I can't really look at it right now. So give me an opportunity after the show, and I'll check it out. But, I mean, this story is going to take a lot of tosses and turns because you saw LeBron James when there was racist remarks and attacks against black culture. He had a lot to say. He had a lot to say. A lot of athletes had a lot to say about it. Why isn't, besides Julian Edelman, the only person that's come out and spoken high praise and come out and said and stick up for the Jewish people? Has stuck up for what's going on in the world. That's what I want to know. I haven't heard anything from LeBron James. I haven't heard anything from Russell Wilson. I haven't heard from anybody. The only person we've heard from was Julian Edelman. You heard from Tom Brady when this was going on with Black Lives Matter and how he supported it. Why haven't we heard from any other athlete besides Julian Edelman? I don't care if you're not Jewish. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, you're black, you're white, you're Brazilian, you're Chinese. It doesn't matter. It is a racist remark. It is attack to another culture. And when you come out and you don't speak up, when you have a platform, you saw Colin Kaepernick. He spoke out and he got screwed. He lost his job. He lost everything. And the NFL has paid for it dearly, and so is he. Now you see LeBron James. Oh, the great LeBron James, the great Kyrie Irving, the great James Harden, all these guys, all the big superstars, the Kevin Durant of the world. Why haven't they come out and taking shots and stuck up. And stick up for stick up for the Jewish people for after Miles Leonard taking shots at the Jewish culture.
Yeah. When are you ever going to learn, everybody, to not go after race, religion, ethnicity, stuff like that? When are these people ever going to learn? Clearly, it's in his vocabulary for some reason, and that shows who he is. It's simple as that. And you could say, all right, you could say that I need to get educated. Why is the term in your vocabulary? Why is this anti-Semitic terms engraved in you? It has to come from something. It's not like it was like you're a preteen kid saying stupid things like we saw some of these past athletes. You're a grown man. Get educated, and especially just learn with all these things that have been happening the last year.
I mean, this is crazy. It really is. And to me, the fact that only one athlete has come out and spoken up for the Jewish culture, it's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. LeBron James should be ashamed of himself. All these guys that have spoken up for Black Lives Matter and all the anti-Semitic racist things that we've heard. I mean, the racist things we've heard and all the different murders that have happened over the last couple of months and years from the police. Why hasn't anybody spoken up and stuck up for the Jewish religion, the Jewish people? That to me is disgraceful. It really is. Because we as people should be sticking together. As athletes coming out and speaking for all different cultures, all different things that are going on in the world. You have your own thoughts with the politicians and politics and Donald Trump. Why isn't anybody coming out and speaking up for what this guy, this man, Miles Leonard said, which is disgraceful, disgusting, pathetic?
And religion is just as big of our history, our world history, as anything else with ethnicity, with how different countries were formed. Obviously, different religions were formed. It was a religious war for a while, so it matters just as much. I know it gets drowned out because it's not a particular race or particular, I guess, ethnicity that's gone after in comparison to what we've seen this last year, but it's still a big part of the history no matter what. And religion is how a lot of these countries were formed, these regions were formed, and especially Jewish, who we saw what happened with them in the Holocaust. Then they got wrongfully attacked, and Desean Jackson, with his stupidity, he said over the summer, saying it's a hoax and all that.
It's a hoax, but here's the thing: the first slaves in this world were Jews.
Right.
Okay, the Jewish people were the first slaves. Okay, they were. The Jews have been treated just as bad as African Americans over the years. Okay, they have. And how many times have we heard so many different things? Look what the Nazis did. Look what they did to the Jewish people. Over 4 million, what is it? Between 2 and 4 million people were
just
murdered.
Germany alone, and then there were other countries too. Yeah,
were absolutely murdered. Okay, and then you come out and you take shots at another culture when you think that you're the only culture that should be out there and not be attacked? Come on, guys. This is ridiculous. No culture, no person, no athlete should take a shot at any culture, any anti-Semitic attacks. None whatsoever. And the fact is that you should stick to your sport and concentrate on what you're doing and playing your game than taking shots at a religion, taking shots at another person. It is disgraceful. And Julian Edelman has every right to reach out to Miles Leonard. I don't know what he could say, and I understand that he reached out to Desean Jackson, and he gave Desean Jackson a little bit more background on his culture, and that's Judaism, but it's disgraceful. I believe, and I believe this very cold-heartedly, that Jews and African Americans are very alike. They're very alike. They both were slaves. Both of them. And everybody, and I believe that all our cultures should be sticking together. Every one of us should be sticking together, not attacking one another. All these disgusting names, and I'm not going to mention on live radio, the things that you call Jews, the things that you call African Americans, the things that you call Italians, the things that you call Brazilians, Chinese. It's disgusting. It is disgusting.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago with Jeremy Lin. That was disgraceful, too, whoever was saying that towards him.
I mean, to me, and anybody that knows about Boston Red Sox and over there in Fenway Park, a lot of athletes,
my God, that was awful.
A lot of athletes have come out and said how racist the Boston
fans,
Fenway fans have attacked different ethnic groups out there in the audience.
Tyreek Hill got victimized by it too, by Patriots fans. They were saying slurs at him. So
I mean, it's disgraceful. It is absolutely disgraceful. And Miles Leonard should not only be suspended, he should be fired. Mm-hmm. He should be fired. He should lose his job. Pat Riley should get rid of him. Is he that good of a player? And even if he was a good player, you want to set a statement? You want to put a statement out there to show your team and show the NBA what and professional sports who means business? If there's anybody that should do that and would do that, it's Pat Riley. And Pat Riley should do that. He should suspend him without any pay and eventually fire him. I don't think he should do. He doesn't deserve a job of this magnitude. $10 million to sit on the bench when you're taking shots at other ethnic groups, other taking anti-Semitic terms and using it against other people that you're playing video games against. Are you kidding me? A video game. You're taking a shot out of a person that is Jewish. Disgusting.
Probably a random person, too.
Disgusting.
It's disgraceful. Religion is part of the history, too. This should never be engraved in your mind to
I'm stuttering because it makes me sick to my stomach.
It's awful.
It takes this to a whole nother level. It makes me sick to my stomach. I'm disgusted. I don't know how the NBA and Adam Silver could let this go on. How many times do we see Black Lives Matter? How many times you put that on the court? And I understood it. I back the NBA for what they did. Okay, I back them. I backed it. And why isn't the NBA speaking up for Jews? Mm-hmm. Adam Silver is Jewish. David Stern was Jewish. Half the executives in the NBA are Jewish. Why is this going on? Why isn't the NBA speaking up to the Jewish culture now? This is disgusting. The LeBron Jameses and the Kevin Durants and the Kyrie Irvings, all the stuff that they said, why aren't any of these guys speaking up?
Same thing with the Asian American culture. Jeremy Lin, again.
Another disgrace.
Yeah. Right. 3 weeks ago, he gets called a virus just because of the country he's from. It's disgraceful, and the NBA really didn't do anything with that.
Nothing. Zip. Nothing. Zilch. Absolutely zilch. This is the problem with the NBA. This is the problem with professional sports. When somebody speaks, a big name speaks like LeBron James, everybody listens. When LeBron James doesn't speak, nobody listens. It's disgraceful. This is a disgrace. And the fact that this guy has a job still is disgraceful. I am disgusted. The NBA should, I don't know what the NBA, they should come out with a statement and do something. I haven't heard anything from the NBA. Have you heard anything from the NBA?
Nope.
Nothing.
Just suspend him indefinitely. It's ridiculous.
I don't understand it. Does it really matter what color you are? Does it really matter what religion you are? We're all the same. We're all built with the same fingers, the same arms, the same legs. I was born with 6 more toes on 1 foot. No, I'm just kidding. But we're all born the same. We all have brains. We all have hearts. And some people in professional sports really don't have a heart. Some people in this world really don't have a heart. And this is a disgrace to professional sports. From the Jeremy Lin statements to this statement by Miles Leonard. It is disgraceful. And I want to hear LeBron James use his platform and speak up upon it. Because I don't care if it's not your culture. I don't care if you don't think the same way as Miles Leonard. The fact is, you spoke high and wide when everything was going on with Black Lives Matter. But you're not going to speak up for this. You're not going to speak up for this. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. LeBron James should bite his tongue on what he says to the analytics and analysts that he speaks to. Because to me, if you're not going to speak up and say how you feel when it's important, then you shouldn't be saying anything. Jeff says, we all are the same, except for Speedy. He's definitely different.
Thanks, Jeff.
Now I want to get into some NFL conversation. And there are stories coming out. And Speedy, we were talking about this. And I know everybody says we get into the Jets, but it's so interesting with this second pick. It really is. Because I don't know where Joe Douglas is going. I don't know if he's going to stick with Sam Darnold. Some people are saying that he is going to be looking elsewhere when it comes to the quarterback position. But there's nothing set in stone because obviously the pro days are about to start. We're going to see there are a lot of different prospects that are out there. There are quarterback prospects. There are wide receiver prospects and running back prospects. There's so many different prospects in this year's draft. But when we look at the Jets are more than one quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. Okay? They are. There's nothing blind. Nobody's blinded to see what's going on with the New York Jets. So if the Jets really believe that Sam Darnold isn't the guy, they need to start thinking about making that move more sooner than later. Because Carolina right now, the Bears, and quite a few different teams, even the Broncos, are looking for a quarterback. Even San Francisco. They're looking for a quarterback, a future quarterback for their organization. And Sam Darnold, if he is not your guy and you believe that you can get a second and a fourth for him, move him. Move him. How could you sit tight and just do nothing about it? Nothing. I don't understand where the Jets are going with this. I don't understand where Joe Douglas is going. Now, I know Joe Douglas is sitting back and he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. He has not seen Zach Wilson's pro day. He has not seen Justin Fields' pro day or Trey Lance or any of the other quarterbacks that are going to be available. Now, Carolina is looking for a quarterback. Carolina will do anything. If they can't get Deshaun Watson or they can't get Russell Wilson, they will do anything to move up to number 2. They will do anything. I could see Carolina giving up 2 or 3 first-round draft picks and maybe a second and a fourth to move from 8 to 2 to get a Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson that fits that offense like a glove. He does. I think Zach Wilson fits any offense like a glove. But for that particular offense, with the arm strength that he has and the weapons that they have, the running game that they have, Zach Wilson would be perfect with Carolina. Now, thinking of that, why don't the Jets trade that second pick to the 8th pick, get the 8th pick, stockpile on those draft picks, and if you have a chance for Deshaun Watson, you can use that draft stock and trade for Deshaun Watson. Now, I know we've heard that the Texans want the number 2 quarterback in this draft class. They want the number 2 guy. Okay? But if there's nobody available and nobody available to trade with him, or there's not enough that any team is going to offer him that remotely stands out, I think the Jets could offer him 3 or 4 first-round draft picks, a player on the team right now, and that would seal a deal.
Yeah, the Jets we know have the most draft stock when it comes to this kind of trade. It's just a matter of what is the value going to be like going the other way. Like I said with Carolina, it depends on what they do in free agency. And so far, Shaq Thompson, Christian McCaffrey, like you mentioned, trimming the contracts will definitely help their chances. Whether they get the players or not is another question, but that'll definitely help their chances where they can afford to do something like that and make a big splash, whether it's for Watson or for a quarterback like Wilson or Fields.
Jeff, what's going on?
I think that you're getting a little ahead of yourself because, saying that they should trade Sam Darnold or trade back with that number 2 pick, both of those are pieces that could be going back to Houston if they're trying to get Deshaun Watson, who's still out there. So I think that you need to wait and see where Deshaun Watson goes before the Jets are going to make any moves.
How about... We don't know if the Texans are going to move him, and they might have him sit out for the season if they don't want to move him. They might play a possum with him. We've seen this before. We've seen teams do this, and they might play possum with Deshaun Watson. We understand that you have a no trade clause, and we want the most for you. And I believe they'll do anything. And the Patriot way. And the GM of the Texan is from the Patriots organization. So the Patriots the Patriots have known to try to build up draft stock for a player. I could see the Texans saying, you know what? We're not going to get what we want right now, so we're going to hold on to this piece, and we're going to dangle him. And if he wants to sit out for the season, we'll make him sit out.
The Texans aren't going to get anything better than, Darnold and the number 2 pick and, obviously some other picks probably, right? But, who's the next team that could give them something like the
Miami?
Number 2 pick?
Miami?
Which is the number 3 pick,
right.
Which is worse.
Mm-hmm.
And Tua, which is probably worse than Darnold.
I think Tua is worse than Darnold, and I know you do because you're one of the guys that have come out and said that Tua will not be a good pro, and I was one of them too. I didn't think he was either.
I said it long before the draft.
Yes, you did, and I'll give you credit for that. You said that Tua wasn't going to be any good in the NFL because his game really predicated on Alabama's offense and the talent that he had around him, and you said that, and I agree with you, and you were right about that. But to me...
But until the Deshaun Watson thing is settled, why would you be in a hurry to move pieces that you don't need to move right now just for the sake of you knowing what the Jets would do?
Because if you don't make those moves now and all those other teams fill in that quarterback spot, you have nowhere to send Sam Darnold. If you don't think Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the future.
You'll always have somewhere to send Sam Darnold because there's going to be teams even after the draft that'll be looking for quarterback. I don't think anyone believes that, any of the top 5 quarterbacks are going to make it past, 15. And the Bears still draft after that, and they need quarterback. And the Redskins still draft after that, and they need quarterback. You'll always have somewhere to send Sam Darnold.
Now, I think the Redskins still believe that Alex Smith could still play the quarterback position. If Alex Smith does come back next year, which I believe he will.
He's not even on their team.
I know that, but I still think they're going to bring him back. I don't see why they wouldn't. I would bring him back even as a backup. He would be a good backup. You saw him come back.
Well, there would have been if that's the case, there would have been no reason to cut him.
Well, they cut him because they're probably letting him go see what's out there for him. And if there's nothing out there for him, I could see them bring Alex Smith back. I don't see why they wouldn't. He played very well when he played.
That would fly in the face of the Alex Smith interview he did where he said Washington never wanted him to come back.
Well, that's fine. And we've seen this many, many times that players have said what they've said on live. Look at Jamal Adams, okay? How many times have we heard Jamal Adams say what he said? He doesn't want to play for a losing organization. He doesn't want to go somewhere where he's going to lose and not succeed. Well, he got traded to a losing organization, a winning organization that's going to go back to losing because Russell Wilson wants out. And if he leaves,
none of that matters. None of that.
It
matters.
does.
You'll always have a place to send Sam Darnold. People are always looking for a quarterback.
So you think if the Jets hold on to Sam Darnold too long, he'd still have a place to send him, and they still get as many draft stock, as much draft stock as they would get him if they traded him now.
I mean, how many times has Josh Rosen been traded for a second-round pick? That's pretty much the baseline. And if you're happy with a second-round pick, that's good enough, man.
Josh Rosen was traded for a second and a fourth. He was traded for a second and a fourth.
Well, fine, then a second and a fourth. So I mean, there's that. And how many times was he traded for that?
I think he was traded twice.
It was twice. The first time I think was a second and a fourth, and then the Dolphins traded back with the Saints or something to get extra picks, and I think it was a second and 2/5 when they got him from the Cardinals.
I think everyone believes that Sam has probably at this point a better future than Josh Rosen.
Definitely.
Whether you think Josh Rosen was treated fairly or not, it doesn't matter. I think people look at Sam Darnold better than Josh Rosen, so it's not really going to matter. You're always going to have a place to send him. I'm worried because when you look at the Jets right now and you see the position that they're in probably the best position out of any team right now in the NFL. They really are, because they could trade down and build their draft, even the draft capital than they are right now, or they can keep Sam Darnold and keep that second pick and maybe build around Sam Darnold, bring in an offensive lineman over there or a wide receiver, or trade a couple of spots down and add the wide receiver that you need to help Sam Darnold. They could do so many different things, and we all know that the draft starts at the Jets because we know Trevor Lawrence is going on. The other thing to keep in mind why I don't think that you should be in a hurry to either trade the second pick or trade Sam Darnold or do whatever. Free agency hasn't even started, so you really don't even know what the Jets need and what they don't need right now, because until they start plugging holes with free agents and they have a ton of money to do that, you don't even know what the team needs.
No, and we do need the Jets do need an edge rusher. That's definitely true. They need a veteran corner to help out over there.
But if they fill some of these slots in free agency, Like, if they go and get a pass rusher, you no longer need a pass rusher.
Well, if you haven't read,
go and get a quarterback. If they, like, not that they would, but if they went and signed Mitch Trubisky and said, "Oh, he's our quarterback now," well, then you're not drafting quarterback probably.
Well, here's the thing: if
let them plug the holes in free agency to see what could be there or what their plan could be.
Jeff, have you heard what Joe Douglas has come out and said? That he wants to build his team through the draft. He is not going to overexhaust the spending spree that every Jet fan wants him to do. He's not doing that this year. He's not. He's going to bring in maybe 2 or 3 free agents. He's not going to overpay them. And you saw the NFL came out today that the salary cap is actually down 8%. So they're not going to have as much money to work with as they thought they were. So, I mean, with the COVID-19 situation. So, to me, when you look at the big picture right now, the Jets are not going to build around free agency, and as well as they shouldn't. No team has ever become successful as a Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl contender building around free agency. They build around the draft.
I certainly think they're going to build that offensive line through free agency. If you like, I mean, it would be my guess. I mean, no one really knows for sure, but it would be my guess they're going to go after Joe Thuney, who doesn't look like he's going back to New England. Mm-hmm. It would be my guess that they're going to find another offensive lineman. If they get 2 veterans like that are solid veterans to play offensive, well, then you've just built your offensive line.
Well, if they can get Thuney, but there's a lot of people that are going to be interested in Thuney. It's not just going to be the Jets.
Especially with Scherf now franchise tag because he was
Jacksonville.
Big guard,
Jacksonville will definitely look at Thuney. They have a lot of money to spend with Trevor Lawrence. They want to protect their franchise.
There's not as many teams as you think that are going to be interested in
the Bengals
because there's only like 6 teams that have salary cap space. Look at what the Saints are doing today. They cut Quan Alexander and Emmanuel Sanders and one other dude, and they're still $30 million over the cap. There's no way they're going to cut half of their franchise just to bring in Joe Thuney.
Well, the Saints don't need him. They don't need offensive line.
I understand that, but I'm just saying most franchises are in that position where they're, cutting salary, not trying to take it on. The Jets are one of the few franchises that can take on salary. So they're probably, you mentioned the Jaguars, they have some room too. Those are probably one of those 2 spots is probably where Joe Thuney's going to end up.
Bengals.
Jacksonville doesn't really know an offensive line either. They need a lot on defense.
The Bengals and Miami too. But all 4 of those teams are looking for offensive line help, and all 4 of them have the money to make that move.
Miami's out. They just traded for Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah, that doesn't mean
Isaiah Wilson, is he a starter though type though? Just because he was a 1st-round pick?
That doesn't mean that they're not going to go after him. I do believe that they'll go after Thuney. I don't think the Jets are going to overpay for Thuney either. We've seen Joe Douglas. He is not going to overpay. He's going to give you top-heavy money in the beginning of the contract, and he could be able to buy you out or release you the 2nd or 3rd year. I could see him doing that with Thuney if they do bring Thuney in. Maybe give him a 4-year deal where a 2-year option where they can actually walk away from that contract. I could see Joe Douglas doing that. You can't? Jeff?
No, I mean, it's entirely possible that could happen, right? But they're one of the teams with, one of the 5 teams with the most money. So, they're really sitting in a good spot where they can get some deals on players and really build their team. Like, dude, John Brown got released today. You wouldn't like to see John Brown on the other side of Denzel Mims?
Listen, I think the Jets need a lot of wide receiving help. I mean, Jamison Crowder and Denzel Mims are not enough. The Jets I think they need 2 more weapons. I really do. I think they need a number 1 guy, and I would say they need a number 3 guy. And I'm not talking about Jamison Crowder's a slot guy. So if you want to call him a number 3 guy, that's fine. I call him a slot guy, and you need 3 guys besides a slot guy. I think you need 4 quality wide receivers to succeed, especially with the injuries that you're going to have to deal with in the middle of the season with one of these guys or 2 of these guys.
Right, but they could go and pay Thuney. Just throwing names out there, not that these would be their targets, but they could go and pay Thuney and Emmanuel Sanders and John Brown. And then what would they really need? A pass rusher? Big deal. They can.
Big deal. They haven't had a pass rusher.
That's their bigger need more than the receivers.
They haven't had a pass rusher since John Abraham. They haven't had anybody.
There's a bunch of dudes out there right now. Carlos Dunlap is out there. They could easily go and get Carlos Dunlap, too.
The Jets should try maybe to go for two. One young guy like a Hendrickson or a Carl Lawson or somebody like that, or Judon, and then one veteran guy like that, because they need a lot of the edge rushing help, even more than the receivers.
I mean, there's plenty of ways that they could go. Like, this team could get really good really quick, just because of the position that they're in with their salary cap space, and so many other teams cutting so many quality players because of the salary cap situation.
I think that when you see this offseason and you're looking at the Jets, and not only the Jets, there are some other teams, the Patriots are going to have money to spend. I mean, the Patriots right now have the 6th or 7th most money in free agency.
No one gives a shit about the Patriots and their money to spend. Unless they figure out quarterback, no one gives a shit.
Well, they're gonna figure it out. I think the Patriots are gonna figure out the quarterback situation. If they don't get somebody in free agency, they're going to get somebody in the draft. And I think, like you were saying, Trey Lance will be there in position to draft.
Maybe.
He will be.
Maybe.
I don't think he's drafting in the top 10. I don't.
I mean, you really don't know, though, right?
I can't see Carolina drafting him, even if he's there. I don't. He doesn't fit the Carolina offense that they're looking for. Trey Lance is a guy that you're going to have either sit out, which I think the Patriots will. They'll make him sit for a year or sit for half a season so he learns the offense, and then they're going to put him in. And if they're somewhere in the playoff scheme of things, they'll bring him in sometime in the middle of the season. You're not going to see Bill Belichick start a rookie. He doesn't do that. He never does that. So, and we saw that over the years with the Patriots. When was the last time he started a rookie? He never did. So, and that's why. And
I can't remember if Matt Castle was a rookie.
No, he wasn't a rookie.
No,
he wasn't.
No, I think he was third year.
He wasn't a rookie. No, and he doesn't start. He doesn't start rookie.
But that was out of emergency more than anything else. It's not like they wanted to deliberately start Castle either.
But they've been incredibly lucky in that department for 20 years. They've been incredibly lucky, and that's fortunate for them. But they have to figure that out before they do anything. So don't even mention them.
Well,
I'm frustrated, Errol.
I know.
Do it to me.
I know you're pissed off, and I think a lot of.
I think Cam Newton led the league in last year was fancy hat.
Well, I think there'll be quarterbacks available. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, will be available for the Patriots if they're interested in bringing a quarterback of that magnitude. I think Teddy Bridgewater would fit very, very well with the Patriots and the way they run their offense. I think that. Mitchell Trubisky, we talked about this. Mitchell Trubisky might be available. He's something and somebody that I think Bill Belichick can fix and figure him out. I think he would fit like a glove, especially in that offense where he likes to use the running backs as wide receivers.
The dream for me really is to get Sam Darnold so he can torture the Jets for the next 1 year.
Well, it won't be from the Jets. I know the Patriots reached out. I know the Patriots reached out to Joe Douglas. And Joe Douglas, we've seen it already. Joe Douglas has already made moves with Bill Belichick. We've seen it in the draft, which I was very surprised, trading from 3 for 2 for the third pick that they got from Seattle for 2 4th rounds. And it worked.
New England really does have a good track record of taking players from the Jets and making them just dominant.
They've done very well with it, yes. And don't remind me. Thank you.
Taking a coach.
Well, don't remind me on that, okay? I don't need.
That's why I want Darnold. You guys are like our farm system.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think Darnold is going to the Patriots, but I think there's opportunity where there's quite a few teams that will be interested in Darnold, like we were talking about. But I think the Patriots, they're going to have a lot of players to pick from to be their starting quarterback this year. Like I said, Mitchell Trubisky, Teddy Bridgewater.
Really anyone of quality.
What? You don't think Teddy Bridgewater's quality? He's a good player. You don't think he's good?
No, dude.
I think Teddy Bridgewater, if you put the right players around Teddy Bridgewater, he can succeed. He can. You saw it in the beginning of the season with Carolina. He succeeded.
Listen, dude, I don't want him anywhere near my team. I would rather I don't want Teddy Bridgewater, or you mentioned Alex Smith, or any of those guys. I would much rather have a quarterback built out of all of their spare body parts that haven't been injured yet.
So what you're telling me right now, when sitting here today as a Patriot fan, you don't want Teddy Bridgewater, you don't want Mitchell Trubisky, no. You don't want any of those guys.
I would take Trubisky.
What makes you want Mitchell Trubisky over Teddy Bridgewater?
Well, he's more mobile, less injury prone. One thing that the Patriots value more than anything is not turning the ball over. And while Trubisky wasn't like prolific in throwing it down the field, he also really didn't turn the ball over, which would fit the mold.
Which he does, but he has throughout his career though too.
Yeah, he did early, but he kind of got that under control.
Here's the thing, and you say Mitchell Trubisky and all that other stuff. If you look at Mitchell Trubisky, and I actually like Mitch, I do. I think if he goes to the right team, he will fit. And I think the Patriots are a team that absolutely would fit with Mitchell Trubisky because of the style of game and what we all know Josh McDaniel likes to run. We all know that. I don't know if you look at Bill Belichick, after what we've seen with Cam Newton taking somebody sloppy seconds, I don't know if Bill Belichick's going to do that. I could see him bring Jacoby Brissett as his starting quarterback in the beginning of the season, draft Trey Lance or move up and try to get Trey Lance, have Trey Lance sit on the bench for half the season. If somehow Jacoby Brissett wins half or a quarter of the games early in the season, then you bring in Trey Lance 6 or 7 games in and try to make the playoffs and maybe make a run.
That's been Brissett's track record too, with both the Patriots and with the Colts. He's been a quote-unquote winner, but not really the glamorous statistical guy. So depending on how well Lance develops, that's a big difference.
I mean, that being said, we're all predicting the Patriots are going to try to draft a quarterback or whatever. And, Belichick, he goes against the grain, so I guess we're going to draft Greg Russo or something.
I don't know. Even that might be too flashy for the Patriots because a lot of analysts like him.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Jones. I mean, he's from Alabama. He comes from the Nick Saban pool. And you know that he likes to draft guys from Alabama. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mac Jones could be a Patriot. And he's very accurate. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the class.
Let's be real, though. The whole league likes to draft people from Alabama.
And most of the Patriots picks, I think, are defensive players anyway. It's tough to judge offense. Yeah, and Damian Harris, I should
find
say.
out. I mean, if you want to know who the Patriots are going to draft, just find out who, the tight end from Rutgers is or something.
Yeah, that's true. Their first draft pick last year, what was he, a D2 player, the Dogger, or FCS?
No. Yeah, D2.
D2, okay.
Lenore Ryan.
Yeah. So I knew it was some. I remember that it was some school in Arkansas I never heard of. And I'm like, that was the first draft pick they had, but he was climbing up draft board because of his combine. Okay. I think it was Arkansas, but yeah, I think he was climbing up draft board. Go ahead, Jeff.
Lenore Ryan's North Carolina.
Okay. So he was climbing up draft boards because of the combine, which also is not like Belichick either, because Belichick came out and said it doesn't really matter as much. But
I will say this, Jeff.
He actually loves the combine. He's a big 3-cone guy, and if you go back and remember, Josh Duggar was a standout during the Senior Bowl, and he loves the Senior Bowl.
I will say this. Anthony LaRocca is actually speaking out to you right over here. He says, Jeff, on the line, blast from the past, tell him the Bruins suck for me. That's for all the trash he spoke about the Islanders. He wanted me to tell you that. So, there you go.
Dude, the Islanders still suck. I don't, listen.
Oh, stop, Jeff. Jeff, you know that's not true.
Listen, you and I talked about this, right? Mm-hmm. The Islanders have had the Bruins number. I don't know why, because the Islanders aren't very good. They lose to everybody else. But what is Anthony even talking about, dude? What has the Islanders won or done in the last 100 years?
I'm an Islander fan, and right now the Islanders are playing good hockey. They're in first place. All right, so you can't say they stink. They're the best team in the division. A division that a lot of people thought that was one of the hardest divisions put together by Gary Bettman and his eager executives. What was that?
It really is turning out to be the best division. A really good team is going to miss the playoffs in that division, right? But it's just the fact that, an Islanders fan talking shit is like Speedy telling you how much he can bench press. You got no business saying anything.
Well, I'll read off. Anthony LaRocca says Trubisky sucks. Like his boy Rask.
Rask is way better at his sport than Trubisky is at his.
Just so he knows, Rask has his name on the Stanley Cup. So I don't know what he's talking about.
And I think one of the top 5 save percentages of all time or something like that.
Right. This is what you're dealing with. Stupidity like that. That's how stupid some of your listeners are. Get in the beach and get together and swap ideas.
Anthony says conference finals last season. Go make a ham and cheese sandwich and talk about something you know about.
Conference finals last season. What is he turning into, the Indianapolis Colts? We're the 2019 finalists. Is that the banner you're going to hang up, Anthony? Is that the banner you want to put up? Your team is now exactly like the Colts. That's your banner moment.
Oh, stop! You know they're a good team, and you can't deny that they're not. First of all. But I don't want to get. We're not talking about hockey. We're talking about the NFL. What do you think about Buffalo? I think you look at Buffalo. Buffalo is on the cusp of being a very good team, and Josh Allen really didn't show up in the AFC title game. To me, it was shameful for what he did at the end of the game. I thought it was disgraceful what he did. But nevertheless, Josh Allen had a sensational year. I think you could put Josh Allen in the elite conversation. He is an elite quarterback. What do you see the Buffalo Bills doing now in the offseason that can make them a better team?
I think what they're going to try to do, and I'll even give you the guy, I think they're going to try to go after Jonnu Smith and upgrade a tight end because Tyler Croft and Dawson Knox are just not cutting it there. And if they had another option, I think that would help at tight end. And I think that's where they would upgrade it. They're full of receivers, that Isaiah McKenzie and Dylan Gabriel, the kid out of UCF.
Gabriel Davis.
Obviously, they have Gabriel Davis. Sorry, Dylan Gabriel's a quarterback. I'm so dumb.
No, you're not. Well, sometimes you are, but
I mean, they have enough at wide receiver. You know, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Diggs, Beasley still there. Tight end is where they need the upgrade.
Now, what team?
So I would think that would be where Jonnu Smith ends up.
Plus, he's a very good run blocker too.
Which would help them because their run game was awful last year.
Now, what team do you believe is going to make the most moves this offseason that can really put them on the top of, when you look at where some of these teams didn't even make the playoffs? Is there a team that stands out to you making all the moves that they need to make this offseason that can make them a playoff contender?
For me?
Yeah, who do you think?
This sounds wild, but if they were to pull it off and get Deshaun Watson or figure out quarterback somehow and just get a wide receiver, Miami's not very far away from being really, really good. Like, really good. That defense was certainly really solid last year, and if they can get someone capable of throwing the football, not Tua, and just a receiver to play opposite of Devontae Parker, and I think they'd be in business.
I would agree with you. I think Miami, they have one of the best young coaches in the league. I think Brian Flores, to me, was the coach of the year last year. I think in the second half, really the last 4 or 5 games really cost him from winning that coach of the year. Well-deserved by the Browns head coach. But I will say this. I think the Browns are going to be a lot better this coming year. I really do. I'm not a Baker fan. I'm not going to bet my money in my pocket that Baker Mayfield is going to be an elite quarterback. I don't think he's an elite. But I think they have elite players, and they have an elite running game. And when you have that kind of running game, you can dominate. And I think they're maybe 2 or 3 pieces away. And did you hear what Tom Brady said the other day? That he wants the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go after Odell Beckham. I don't know if that's possible. Could you imagine Odell Beckham and Evans on one side, on both sides?
That's not gonna
Could you imagine that?
Especially since they just franchise tagged Godwin.
Oh, I understand.
They already have too many guys. But they have young budding stars here in Tampa. Tyler Johnson's an up-and-coming guy. Scotty Miller's an up-and-coming guy. And then you obviously have Godwin and Evans there. And O.J. Howard will be back at tight end. So, they don't need Odell Beckham. That's ridiculous.
CJ Desimone says Miami is not moving on from Tua, not happening. What do you think about that?
Dude. He runs a podcast for fans of the team that made Fireman Ed quit.
Could you stop? Could you stop it? Seriously. He's telling. Listen, Tua had the number 1 jersey sale in the NFL last year. Number 1, and the fans love him. The Miami fans love him. They do. They love him.
They loved him before he was drafted.
I'm not a big fan of Tua. I think there's a lot of people not a big fan of Tua. The only person that was really a fan of him was Mark Kelly and Ryan. Those were the only two guys that I remember. You weren't a big fan of him. I didn't say you.
No, God, no.
No, I didn't think that.
He's Hawaiian Tim Tebow.
I know a lot of people have said that about him. That they think he's another Tim Tebow. That he's predicated on the team and the offense.
I just want to circle back around and just clarify something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 'Cause I did enjoy shitting on CJ, but I actually enjoy CJ's show, and he's a good dude. So I just wanted to say that.
No, and CJ is, and he's got a pretty good show.
I do like shitting on him and the rest of the Jets fans.
well, I think that this offseason is going to be very interesting. Even Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati can make a significant amount of moves. They have a lot of, they have draft stock and they have money. I think Cincinnati needs an offensive lineman. They need somebody that's going to protect Joe Burrow.
They need both scrimmage, O-line and pass rush badly.
Yeah, but Cincinnati always finds a pass rush.
They do.
They never. Besides Whitmore, he was the last good offensive lineman they've had. They've never found a really good offensive line. That's been their problem for years.
For recently, it's weird because they historically have drafted them very well, but all of a sudden they're having a lot of trouble getting them both on interior and the outside. Marvin Lewis, who was good at finding them, and even their previous ownership was good at finding them. It's just weird, but they may have a chance to get Penei Sewell if the Jets don't take him or the Dolphins don't take him.
The Jets aren't taking him.
I don't think so either, or even a team trade.
So good at.
God.
You're right, Speedy. Marvin Lewis was so good at finding talent that they couldn't even win a playoff game.
He was good at finding talent. I didn't say he was a great on-field head coach.
Hold on 1 second, Jeff. If you look at the last 35, 40 years, the Cincinnati Bengals have the more players in the NFL right now still playing than any team in football.
And they never had a natural GM for, I think, the last 20 years or something, which means Marvin Lewis is the one scouting out. Granted, they've had a lot of wacky first-round picks that, maybe those have held them back, but he's been good at finding day 2, day 3 draft picks. There's a big difference between that and what he did as an on-field head coach. Yeah, he could have been better with that with a lot of the talent that they had, but I always said he should have been fired as a coach and maybe take over as a GM or something like that.
Right. So here's the thing, Errol. You can say anything that you want about, there's more Bengals in the league than anything else, but just keep this in mind. Mm-hmm. Text messaging, the last time the Bengals won a playoff game was 1996.
No, it was 91, even further back than that.
Well, cellular phones didn't even have text capability until 1997. So do you know that means that no one has ever sent a text message that said, the Bengals won a playoff game?
I hated a lot of people taking shots at Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton, numbers show you that he was a good quarterback in this league. He was a good quarterback in this league. It's just a shame that he couldn't get over the hump in the playoffs. He never could. He wasn't a good playoff quarterback. Either was Tony Romo, but Tony Romo's numbers were very, very good in the regular season. I think Andy Dalton was a very good quarterback. At one point, a tier 2 type of quarterback. And his numbers were good. But I hear the Cowboy fans taking shots at Andy Dalton because he came into a team where, let's be honest, the offensive line is old. Their running game stinks because of Mike McCarthy. And they're depending too much on their wide receivers now. And they don't really have that many weapons defensively either.
Cincinnati's best chance to win the playoff game was the last one they played in 2015 with A.J. McCarron starting at quarterback. And then Vontaze Burfict, Pac-Man Jones, and Jeremy Hill decided to be dumbasses.
I remember that against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Cincinnati will probably win a playoff game before the Dallas Cowboys do.
I can believe that.
I don't know. I know a lot of people take shots at Dallas, but I think Jerry Jones won't let that happen. I think...
Speedy, what's their helmet?
1 star. Well, it's a rating.
It's not a logo. It's a rating. 1 star.
Oh my God, Cincinnati! I think they have a lot to do. Arizona's the team. Arizona's the team this offseason. I expect them to make some significant moves. They already made one with J.J. Watt. I think they need to add maybe 2 or 3 more pieces, and they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're going to be a very dangerous team. If Kyler Murray can stay healthy, they're going to be dangerous.
Arizona's another team where, like, they're really just kind of like a good receiver opposite of DeAndre Hopkins for being really dangerous.
Secondary depth O-line, and then I think that's really it for them.
You know, they've improved every year. You know, I realize people take shots at Cliff Kingsbury, but he took over a 1-win football team and then got them to 4 wins, and then last year, I think 7 wins.
They were 8-8, but again, they started 6-3 and collapsed. That's really more of the knock on Cliff Kingsbury.
Right,
not that he's a terrible coach. Like, I think he's kind of like an slightly above average coach, but that's really the knock.
Fine, but he's getting that team to improve every year. Listen, every year the Jets are a 2-win team, and every year Errol goes, "Oh, they're going to be a 7-win team next year."
Oh my God, are you attacking the Jets again? I take shots at the Jets all the time, and I'm a Jet fan. I'm a real Jet fan.
No,
I am a real.
I'm just saying people need to recognize that Cliff Kingsbury has made great strides with them in the 2 years that he's.
I never said that he didn't. I never said he didn't. I look at Kyler Murray. I love Kyler Murray. He's one of my favorite players now. I love the fact that the guy is as small as he is, and it's amazing how he can see over that offensive line and make the plays that he makes. It's sensational. It really is. And he's one of the fastest players I've ever seen. He really is. He's like a little ant, and he hides behind things. It's unbelievable how fast the guy is.
CJ just responded to you, Jeff. Wait till I get your happy ass back on my show.
Oh, any day. I mean, I've been saving them up. I've been saving up all the Jets cracks. You know?
Well, we all know that you're a Patriot fan, and you can't stand the New York Jets.
I didn't come on here and say the Patriots are any good. I'm actually depressed on how bleak it looks for them right now.
I don't think it looks as bleak as you think it does. I think they're going to make a move.
I think they're still a decent football team, but without a quarterback, you're really not going anywhere.
That's true. And I think They
bring Cam Newton back. It's the end of them.
They're not bringing Cam Newton back.
Cam Newton's going to the Buffalo as a backup.
Cam Newton was the only quarterback. You realize Cam Newton was the only quarterback in the league last year not to have a multiple touchdown passing game?
I think he went, 7 games without a touchdown pass, too, at one point?
No, yeah, I mean, he sprinkled them in there, but you realize, and the Patriots only had 2 games where they had multiple touchdown passes, and the best passes all year came from Jacoby Myers, their third-string wide receiver.
I know you keep bringing that up.
Well, they do have a history of wide receivers throwing touchdowns when it matters.
Well, but that was when the Patriots had a quarterback that could throw. Like, this dude just leads the league in fancy hats and dumb language.
Jeff, CJ says, Jeff sounds like a spoiled Pats fan who still butt hurts that Brady left. There he goes. Are you?
Was I butt hurt? Was I hurt at all that Brady left?
No, you weren't. I don't. You said that they need to start over and they need to have a new beginning. And I remember you saying that. You didn't. And me, who always takes shots at you, I'm actually sticking up for you. I agree with you.
I'm a realist when it comes to that team. I wasn't hurt when he left, and I'm just saying the Patriots have a crappy quarterback. What does that put me in the same category as? The Jets, and that hurts.
Well, the Jets are in a good position. I think the Jets are in a better position than the Patriots are right now. But
the Patriots have just as much as cap room. They still have.
I'm not saying that. The Jets have more stock.
The best coach in the league.
No, they do. Bill Belichick is the best coach in the league. And I loved when Mark Kelly came out and said that. It was very interesting when he came out and said that.
And not for nothing, you got to see the display of Belichick's genius on display yesterday. What did he do yesterday? Mm-hmm. He traded a 5th-round pick for Trent Brown because we know we're going to lose Tooney, and he's going to move Isaiah Wynn from left tackle to left guard to fill that spot, and Trent Brown, who's a dominant left tackle, will be coming back to New England.
And
what a brilliant move.
Didn't they restructure his contract, too?
Yeah, and lowered his number.
Yeah, because that contract was terrible with the Raiders. I remember that.
Well, Trent Brown, it came from the organization.
Most of it got paid early.
Well, the Patriots are going to have a very strong offensive line. They just need a quarterback that can throw the ball. And that's why I think Teddy Bridgewater would be, I think, a good fit. I think he'd be a great fit for the Patriots. I really do. But you don't like it.
No.
You don't like it.
No.
And you'd rather Mitch. They call him Mitch the bitch.
I'll tell you what, the guy that's out there that they could maybe get that I would prefer over everybody would be Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Mariota is somebody that stands out. Yeah, I think Marcus. I was never a Marcus Mariota fan. I was never a Jameis Winston fan, and I'm a Florida State fan. So I think that quarterback class was horrendous.
But the early Marcus Mariota didn't have anyone to throw to. I mean, it was a bunch of schlubs like CJ out there trying to catch passes.
Yeah, his best season, I think, was 2016. And do you even remember, like, their best receiver was, Rashard Matthews on that team? Yeah.
Maybe Corey Davis. I don't know.
No, Corey Davis wasn't there yet. He was 2017. 2016 was they almost made the playoffs that year, but that was his best statistical season. Corey Davis was drafted the next year. That was the year they made the playoffs, but he kind of regressed his talent-wise that year.
Jeff, I have a question to ask you, and Carl Falk says, Wilson to the Bears. Does Russell Wilson make the Bears a Super Bowl contender?
Absolutely.
Really?
That team has an unreal defense. Let's be honest. The Bears defense didn't get any help from the offense. They were constantly on the field, constantly tired because Trubisky and Foles combined couldn't move the football. There were pieces there where they put the franchise tag on Allen Robinson, but before they did that, he was widely considered the best free agent or maybe the second best possible free agent after Godwin, maybe, depending on who you prefer. So they have weapons there that they could use. I think Montgomery's a good running back, and if they could just get a quarterback, that would solve a lot of their problems. A lot of it, but people forget, what were they? 5-0, 6-0 to start last year.
They were 5-0 or 5-1. They beat the Buccaneers and then they went on a bad losing streak. I think after a bye week or something like that.
But the offensive line is terrible, Jeff. This offensive line is just as bad, or maybe even worse than Seattle's.
Listen. You couldn't get a worse offensive line than what Seattle was playing with. You really couldn't. And I mean, Russell Wilson did really good things with that team. So I think that if you could put Russell Wilson on the Bears, I mean, that would get them damn near the top of that division.
But also, the other factor is, would they have to trade defensive pieces in order to do that, to make a trade for a quarterback as top end as Wilson is, though, too? Because Seattle's going to ask for a lot on defense.
Well, see, here's the other thing, Speedy. The other day you called the Bears stingy. The Bears are not stingy.
No, I called their GM dumb.
Right, but they're willing to pay for things. They are willing to pay. They paid a boatload to move up one pick to get Trubisky, and they paid a boatload of picks to go and get Khalil Mack.
Right.
They're one of those teams that they're not afraid to ship out quality assets to get something back that they believe is really going to be good for them.
All I'm saying is they might, because Seattle needs so much on defense, they might have a lot of their core defensive pieces as starting points for the Seahawks in that trade, because Seattle's going to ask for a lot for Wilson no matter where they end up going. And trade-wise, because they need so much on defense, Chicago might be that fit, whether it's somebody in their secondary like Kyle Fuller or Eddie Jackson, somebody like Roquan Smith. I don't think they really need linebackers much. But
Chicago's defense is so good, though, they could really afford to ship Khalil Mack back in that trade, though. They really could.
That's interesting.
Hold on 1 second. So you're
dude, Roquan Smith is still there playing great defense, and they're going to have to pay him in another.
So you're telling me you think that the Chicago Bears would trade Khalil Mack again?
Dude, he's eating up a ton of salary cap room. They're going to have to find a way to keep Allen Robinson happy past this year. Getting rid of his contract would free up the money to do that.
I can't see them doing that. He's the leader of that defense. He's the best defensive player on that team. He is. So why would you trade the best defense unless
Roquan Smith is no slouch, and the rest of that.
Nobody said that he was.
Very, very good. Very good defense.
I still just feel that they're in a division right now that is dominated by the Green Bay Packers. And I do believe that Minnesota will figure things out. I am very surprised the last 2 seasons Minnesota has just really not shown up. They really haven't.
Well, Minnesota's always streaky year to year.
You think they're done?
As long as Kirk Cousins there, they're always going to collapse like their old dome did.
Well, Cousins wasn't the problem; it was the defense last year that hurt them. They were better in the second half, but there were they lost a lot of players.
The same Anthony Barr you were making fun of the Jets not getting. He was terrible last year.
He was hurt last year.
It doesn't matter. He was terrible.
No, I just thought it was funny that he would commit to signing with them and go, oh, the Jets, no way, and then change his mind and go back to that dumpster fire.
Carl says trade Robert Quinn, Eddie Goldman, and 2 number 1s for Wilson. That's not going to get it done, Carl. Robert Quinn's an older pass rusher. He's 32 or something like that now. Eddie Goldman, Seattle doesn't really need interior defensive line. That's not a big issue for them on defense. They need more secondary help. And 2 number ones, I think you'll need more than that to get it done. I think Seattle is most likely, if they're going to trade for any of that defensive core, is going to push for Fuller the most, I would imagine.
And they don't have any picks because they gave it up to the Jets.
Yeah.
They gave away their 2 first-round draft picks for the next 2 years.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be right now. They could give up future firsts or whatever. That always happens. Not everyone gives up draft picks in this year's draft. There's always capital going forward.
That's why I'm thrown off with this whole Russell Wilson thing. I don't think Russell Wilson's getting traded. I don't think he's leaving Seattle. Seattle, they would have to get a boatload back for Russell Wilson. I don't care how old he is, 32, 33. He's still in the prime of his career. I think Russell Wilson can play another 7 years with his arm strength.
Well, let me ask you, just hypothetically, right, and I don't want to disparage Russell Wilson at all, right? But how hard is it throwing to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? They could get rid of him, shed some salary, and get another competent guy, dare I say someone like, and I know you're going to hate this, but like Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I think they'd be just as good with more salary cap room.
But let's not forget, too, he also played the first 6 years of his career with scrap heap wide receivers before that and still put up great numbers for the most part with Doug Baldwin and Ricardo Lockett and guys like that.
Anthony LaRocca says there's a bigger chance. There's a bigger chance of John Filkowski being the quarterback of the Patriots next season than Russell Wilson being traded.
I mean, Filk is a much smarter guy than he is. So
I don't know what happened to Filk. He's disappeared. He's fell off the bandwagon. Team Filk.
That's true. That was Jeff's trademark for pretty much the entire 3-month existence of that show.
Can you trade a franchise player? Yes.
Yes, you can play it. Yes.
Yes, and I believe...
But Seattle doesn't need Robinson.
I think Robinson will be traded. I do not believe Chicago is going to re-sign him. I think they franchised him because they're going to try to get as much...
Yeah, they have him on the team for next year, though.
Yeah, they do, but I still think that if a team offers him something that they want, they'll trade him. I do. I think that's why they franchise him. Allen Robinson don't want to be there. He doesn't. So why keep him there if he doesn't want to be there? He doesn't want Trubisky or Foles throwing to him. And if it's not Russell Wilson, he's going to have the same quarterbacks he had last year. So why would he want to be there? Why? Are you lost in words? Because I am.
No. I mean, it's a good. I know it's a good point. It's a very good point. But I mean, listen, if Russell Wilson was happy in Seattle, none of this would have happened. Like, I don't buy I don't want to get traded, but here's a list of teams that I would like to go to if you do think about it. Like, dude, it feels like that doesn't happen in good relationships, right?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't.
So,
it doesn't, no.
There's something there that he's unhappy with, and I really feel like he could be traded.
I think he's not happy because they haven't built an offensive line or found the right guys that fit in his offense. But I think because there's so many good free agents, there's so many good guards and offensive linemen that are going to be available this year, they can rebuild that offensive line. They can give him what he wants. They still have money to spend. They have not paid Jamal Adams. I don't believe they're going to pay Jamal Adams this year.
But they can't do that. But they can't sign any free agents and be good because the only way to build a team is through the draft, right?
No, I didn't say that. I said that's what a lot of people have come out and said, and Bill Belichick has been doing that for years. So, and Joe Douglas believes that. The Baltimore Ravens have done that for years. Pittsburgh Steelers have done that for years. They've built around the draft. They haven't built around free agency. All the good teams have done it that way.
But Seattle's done that too to an extent. The problem is their draft's been so weird at the beginning.
Weak for the last couple of years.
But day 3, they're very good, and they find gems that work, especially with their defense over the years. But the problem is their day 1, their first-round picks, and their second-round picks have been just so weird.
You alive there?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was taking a drink there. I was just thinking about how dumb Anthony LaRocca is.
Well, listen. I mean, Anthony has his own opinions. He has his own opinions.
All he's missing is the giant shoes and the red nose, and he could be Bozo.
What did you think about the Miles Leonard thing?
I mean, you don't want
I'm asking you.
Listen, I'm not going to – his whole written statement about he didn't know that's what that was. Like, do you know how long it took for him to put out that statement? Like 2 hours after that live stream, right? He knew he screwed up the second he did it, right? And he was first and foremost out front when he was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna kneel to the anthem like the rest of my teammates." He's not a person that's not socially aware. He is. He knows what he's doing, whatever, and he needs to get his face out front and not hide right now. That's the worst thing he could be doing. And to his credit, and you're going to go all Homer kind of Patriots thing. Julian Edelman reaching out to him and saying, "Hey, let's sit down and talk about this," I think was a really classy move. He also did it with Desean Jackson when Desean Jackson said the same word. And, I mean, it's disgraceful, but, I mean, I also don't want to be the person that says you need to lose everything in your life over one mistake.
That is a big mistake. What really bothers me, first of all, I took Julian. I spoke about Julian Edelman. I give Julian Edelman a lot of credit because he's the only athlete that has come out and spoken up. You don't see LeBron James coming out. You don't see Kevin Durant. You see nobody but Julian Edelman coming out, and that bothers me, Jeff, because when all the whole Black Lives Matter, the whole Colin Kaepernick thing came out, every single athlete came out and protected Colin Kaepernick. Now all of a sudden, Myers Leonard said something to the public eye. Nobody says anything. Nobody stands up for the Jews or the Jewish religion.
But hold on. I think that you're making the mistake of conflating two issues here. Okay, one was clearly out-of-pocket derogatory statement that Myers Leonard made, right? Clearly hate speech. That's not at all what Colin Kaepernick did. They're not even close to in the same realm of the same thing. It's not hate speech to kneel for the national anthem. It's not. So lumping those two things in together is conflating two completely separate issues.
I'm not even talking about the kneeling. I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter with all the police hurting and murdering African Americans. It was all about standing up for their culture and everything like that. And now all of a sudden, Jeremy Lin gets attacked by fans saying the derogatory things that they said about him. And then all of a sudden, this comes out and Myles Leonard says something racist or anti-Semitic, and nobody speaks out. Nobody said anything about Jeremy Lin. Nobody spoke out. No athlete came out and said anything about the Jeremy Lin thing. It was just quiet, and nobody even said anything. And now the whole Myles Leonard, the same thing happened with Desean Jackson with everything that was going on. Desean Jackson said something. You didn't hear anything from LeBron James. You didn't hear anything from anybody. All you heard was Julian Edelman. He was the only athlete that spoke up for what Desean Jackson said. And he's the only one that speaks up for Myles Leonard. To me, that bothers me. Because all these athletes, they use the platform. They stand out for the platform and they say, well, I'm doing what's right for my culture, this, and that. Even if it's not your culture, you should be standing up because we're all together as one. We're all one nation. We should not be taking shots at anybody, no matter what you are. Jewish, Puerto Rican, Haitian, African American, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's the thing. I think, just in general, everyone across the board, white people, black people, Jewish people, whatever kind of people you want to name, I think everyone just needs to start being just a little better people. Start treating people with a little more kindness. I think that would go a long ways. And listen, Myers Leonard should be the person on Oprah out front giving an interview and have his face on TV and not hiding behind just some generic statement that he probably didn't even write himself.
I agree, and I think Pat Riley should fire him. I really do. The fact that he is not coming out and not speaking up and saying the things that he should be saying, he should be fired. He should not be. Look at what happened to Colin Kaepernick. Look what happened to that guy. His career was ruined because he was kneeling for what he thought was the right thing to do. And then the NFL realized that they were wrong for what they did. They paid him out, and it still screwed his career. It still hurt his career. And then you heard LeBron James speaking up for Colin Kaepernick. You hear Kevin Durant speaking up. You hear all the NFL players speaking up for him. And then all of a sudden, this happens. You heard the same thing. The only person that's speaking out from this is Julian Edelman. And Julian Edelman did the right thing. He reached out to him and spoke to him and said that he wants to sit down and talk to him. There was nobody that was taking shots at what he said. And to me, it's disgraceful. And I'm saying it. It's disgraceful. He should have not said what he said. And you want to know something? He's going to get away with it.
He may, and that would not be terrific. But do you think that people should be able to – and listen, what he did was abhorrent. I'm not trying to, absolve what he did whatsoever because I'm in agreement with you. But I don't think anyone's life should be ruined over one mistake. Like, if he makes it a habit and keeps going, agreed, bury him, right? But I don't think one mistake should define anyone's life.
It's very interesting. I'm thrown off with it. It's definitely something that really annoyed me when I heard it. I didn't even want to hear the replay of what he said because it just upsets me so much that this man is really going to get away with this. He's going to get away with it, and no professional athlete has spoken up from any of it except Julian Edelman, and that's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. It really is.
No one. I mean, the bottom line is no one should slander anybody else.
No.
Like that ever. I mean, the only person that really deserves it is the bee. But anyone else that gets slander is, maybe Anthony LaRocca. But, beyond those two people, even, you shouldn't, we should all be trying to eliminate those words from our vocabulary, period.
Yeah, look, Carl says Donald Sterling got banished from the NBA. He got banished from the NBA because he said a racial slur. Okay? He said one person said something, he was banished. He was banished from the NBA, had to sell his team. All of a sudden you say something anti-Semitic and nobody gets in trouble for it?
Again, that's completely different. You're conflating two issues. Donald Sterling had a repeated history of saying that. And his rant and those tapes, he didn't say it one time and he was done. He said it multiple times, and the way he spoke about African Americans was in a way that was disrespecting them, right? Like even beyond that one word, right? So it's completely different than using that word one time, because that's not what
I understand that you're saying it's completely different, but why isn't there any NBA speaking out against what he said? Okay, why isn't there any NFL players? Why aren't there any MLB players speaking out? Everybody spoke out when everything was going on with the Black Lives Matter situation, but nobody's speaking out on this. Nobody spoke out for Jeremy Lin, speaking out and sticking up for Jeremy Lin after what happened. Why is that? What is going on with this world? Why is it culture after culture? Why can't we all just get along and be one, as one? I don't understand it. And then when this happens, nobody says anything. Who cares? You have Adam Silver. He's a Jewish man. He has not even done anything. Nothing against this. Nothing. If I was Adam Silver, I would be pissed off. Okay? That one of my guys that I'm the commissioner of is talking and saying derogatory things about my religion. My religion. The same guy that makes sure that you get paid $10 million a year because he's the commissioner of the league. And that's fair? That's nice? Come on, Jeff. That's disgraceful.
No, I'm in agreement.
It's disgraceful.
I'm in agreement with
it's
you.
disgraceful.
I'm in agreement with you that there should be a punishment, a fine, a suspension. Maybe he, gets cut from the team. All I'm saying is I'm fine with whatever punishment there is. I just don't think that if he keeps making repeated mistakes, that's another thing, right? Like Donald Sterling.
But he believes it, Jeff. And when you come out and say that, you believe it. Okay? That's the facts. It doesn't matter if he says it once or he says it twice. When you say it, you mean it. And to me, it's like when you say a racist term. If you come out I would never go on live radio and take any shots at any culture because I know what it would cause. Okay, I know what it would start, and I don't believe in that. I don't believe in any of those things. I believe that we're all the same. We're all the same person. We were all made the same way. It's true, except Speedy. Yeah, exactly. But We're all born. And when you have social media and you have Twitch and you have all these ways that you can say the things that you say, he meant every word he said. Okay, so you can't forgive somebody for saying that. You can't.
Well, do you think Deshaun Jackson should play football?
No, I don't. I said that when I heard that. The fact that Julian Edelman reached out to him and said it, he was the only one. It's disgusting. This is disgusting. I don't agree with anything the leagues are doing right now. I don't agree. I'm so surprised that LeBron James.
Are you going to stop watching like the Beeve did?
No, not at all. I'm going to stop. I'm going to attack Miles Leonard on his social media. I'm gonna reach out to him on Twitch, and I would love to hear what he's got to say to anybody, because to me, he doesn't belong playing professional sports. He should not be playing professional sports.
I got to be honest with you. If that dude shows up playing video games on Twitch again, he's the dumbest human alive.
He's dumb anyways.
Medium off immediately. He's
a dumbass anyways. He doesn't belong in the NBA. He doesn't deserve the opportunity to make the money that he makes. Okay? It's disgrace. He is a disgrace. What did you think
I think that everybody should have at least the opportunity for redemption. That's all I would say about that. Like,
Carl,
yes, he made a mistake. Yes, it's abhorrent. But I think that he deserves an opportunity at redemption.
Carl says just because it isn't on social media doesn't mean nothing is happening, Errol. Yes, it does. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because if these players are actually speaking up, all you would see is posts on social media. I have not seen, Carl. I'm not a social media guru. Anybody will tell you that. I have almost 1,800 people follow me on Twitter, and I don't even go on Twitter that much, okay? And when I do post something, it's amazing, okay? But I will say this. When I do skim on social media with LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, or even some of these NBA players like Ray Lewis, and I skim through what they are saying on social media, and I have not heard one thing, not one thing from these superstar players, the faces of professional sports, and they have not said one thing. Even Mike Trout, and I respect Mike Trout, he said something about the whole Black Lives Matter, okay? He said something on his social media. I haven't heard anything from Mike Trout, okay? That bothers me. It bothers me that these players, they have a lot to say about all these different things that are going on in the world, but the one thing that really stands out, and it does bother Jews, it does. It bothers every Jew that heard that come out of Miles Leonard's mouth. It does, because I've talked to two people today that are Jewish that are absolutely...
Of course it bothers people. Who would want to hear hate speech? I mean, who would want to hear? I mean, that's ridiculous. Of course it bothers everybody.
Some people, well, if it bothers everybody, why hasn't LeBron James said anything? He hasn't said anything. Why doesn't he use his platform like he has always come? He's come out and said, this is my platform, and I have every right to use it for good. Okay, so
people use it for the Washington name change too.
Yeah, because he's
Americans.
Because he's Miles. He probably is Miles Leonard's friend, and because he's African American, he's not going to speak up. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Because that's what it seems like. That's what it seems like.
You can't condemn other people and say that you're going to put them in the same boat as Myers Leonard because they haven't spoken out about it yet. You can't. That's unfair.
But it happened. It happened 48 hours ago, Jeff. It happened 48 hours ago.
Not everyone's going to use their platform to speak out in the way that you want them to.
I never said me. I'm surprised nobody has spoke out. Look at Jeremy Lin. Poor Jeremy Lin did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong in the D League or the G League. Didn't say anything, didn't do nothing, and then somebody out there said racial slurs. Nobody in the NBA said anything about that, did they? No, because it's not their culture. It's not any of that. So it's not a story. It's not a heart story. So nobody gives a crap.
But that's why I don't think it's a mistake that Julian Edelman is the one reaching out because, in all fairness,
what a class act! What a class act Julian Edelman is.
I think that he is. He's done that before. I think he is a class act, right? But in all fairness, everyone is comfortable identifying with their own thing. And in fairness, there's not a lot of Jewish athletes. And so Julian Edelman is kind of taking up the mantle and speaking for Jewish athletes.
There's a lot more than you think, Jeff. There's a lot more than you think Jewish athletes out there. There are a lot.
Let's be honest. The Black Lives Matter thing is a layup because most of these leagues are at least 50% black.
Okay.
NBA, NFL, like all that kind of thing, right? Not every league is at least 50% Jewish.
But not every league, but not every person publicizes their religion.
Who was
either,
the gay
though.
guy that came out of the draft?
Michael Sam.
Michael Sam. Remember when Michael Sam was drafted?
Sure.
And remember he was drafted at the last round of the draft.
7th round, yep.
He was drafted in the last round.
Last round, he was like one of the last 8 picks or something.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this question. When he was drafted, did anybody in any culture ever take shots at him over social media as an athlete? Did anybody?
No, but is anyone taking shots at Jewish people over this? No one's taking.
No, nobody is. Nobody's speaking up either. Nobody's speaking up either.
You can't condemn people because they haven't spoken up yet. You can't do that. It's unfair. It's really unfair.
Please condemn Leonard and not those who haven't spoken. Carl, you can say, you have your own opinion. I have mine.
Carl's right.
Yeah.
But Carl's right, though. Carl is 100% right. You can't condemn other people because they haven't spoken up yet, and it's not to your liking or a whole community's liking, the whole Jewish community. It's not to their liking. You can't condemn others for it and lump them in with him. They aren't the ones that did anything wrong. Period. I'm
not blaming anybody, and I'm not condemning anybody. I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm saying that these athletes, they have a lot to say about everything that's going on in the world. Kyrie Irving thinks the world is flat. Steph Curry thinks that nobody has stepped on the moon. But when something happens with Jeremy Lin, their peer, or Miles Leonard comes out and takes a racial attack to Judaism, and nobody says anything.
Those are the people that you want coming to this guy's defense, a flat earther.
I'm just disgusted with the whole thing. I want to get off topic because I'm just tired of it. Zach Britton, what were your thoughts about Zach Britton? He's going to miss 3 months. Chipped elbow, I think it is.
Left elbow. He's going to miss 3 to 4 months.
It's typical for the Yankees. Yeah, we need to. This is what we really need to start talking about, right? Because I know that you're going to go, oh, it's not a big deal, and you're completely wrong.
I never said that.
There's something going on there. There's something going on there with the incompetence of that Yankees medical staff, because for a long time they had misdiagnosed Pena, and they could never get Aaron Judge healthy, and now this guy's got an injury, and that guy. The medical staff of the Yankees, they need to be replaced.
Well, they have. They replaced them. What was it? A year ago? 2 years ago?
1 year.
Yeah, they replaced them.
Time for a whole nother turnover.
Well, you can't blame the Yankees and the medical staff for him having a chipped elbow. I don't know the whole thing behind it, and being that he's going to be out for 3 months, that's a significant amount of time. But the Yankees added some good, arms to that bullpen, and they'll probably add one or two more.
For Yankee fans.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, my heart's broken for Yankee fans.
I'm sure it is. But I think the Yankees are still in very good shape. I'm just very surprised when you hear this. You heard, obviously, a couple of weeks ago with the whole Aaron Boone, with the pacemaker. And then you hear this with Zach Britton. Yes, it definitely worries you as a Yankee fan, knowing that spring training is not even over yet, and they're losing a big piece in their bullpen. Probably one of their biggest pieces in their bullpen.
Versatile and dominant. That's a big, good combination to have.
Losing a player of that magnitude definitely affects the Yankees moving forward. But the Yankees do have some players in their farm system that people have been talking about that maybe weren't ready to come up this year, but maybe you're going to have to give a chance to. And there's still good arms that are available in free agency. So,
question for Carl. Carl says he served up another bomb to the Cubs back in 2016. He blew it for the Dodgers. He never played for the Dodgers. He was on the Orioles that year, and he was a Cy Young candidate.
It's interesting. I'm very surprised. Now, spring training, has anything stuck out to you so far? How about the Mets practicing winning the World Series today? Did you hear about that?
I mean, what a joke, bro. What a joke. What an absolute joke. That clown show thinks that they're going to the World Series, so they're practicing. What a joke. What an absolute just joke of a franchise. With Daddy Warbucks as their owner now.
Daddy Warbucks? I never heard that before, Daddy Warbucks. Why do you call him Daddy Warbucks? I want to hear that.
That's the rich character from that book, my man.
Oh, Daddy Warbucks. That's good. That's a good one. Very interesting. I'm surprised. I'm reading this story and listening. They were doing defensive drills, and right after the defensive drills, they were. First of all, it is not even the season hasn't even started. You don't even know if you're going to make the playoffs. Okay. Yes, they're talented.
They should be practicing carrying stretchers for when their first guy gets injured. Every year the Mets.
Oh man! It's crazy.
Even Speedy knows that's the truth.
Well, he's a Met fan, and when he heard this, he wasn't very happy.
I'm not a fan of premature celebrations or statements either. So the only ones that have worked, like I said earlier, were Emmanuel Sanders saying it for the Broncos and Alshon Jeffrey, even before he was traded to the Eagles, say, I'm going to be on a Super Bowl winning team next year, which he was with the Eagles, and he played well in that game. But beyond that, it hasn't worked at all, especially for these high expectation teams. And it worries me with the Mets because I think them and the Padres are kind of considered that quote unquote off-season darling type team that a lot of times those teams end up dropping off, and it does worry me a little bit in that sense.
I mean, the Mets are going nowhere ever. Like, when your best fan is the Bees, he doesn't like anything good.
Well, I will say this. Carl says Speedy is a big fan of premature other things. Well, I agree. I would agree with that, Carl. That's for sure.
Everyone's picking on Speedy. We should go back picking on Anthony LaRocca and that clown.
I don't know. He hasn't been commenting in a while. I don't know. What happened to him?
Anthony. Anthony's probably just listening to Radio Attack. But
probably because his wife told him he had to go and do something.
That's pretty good. So,
what
are
a
you?
Woman she is for doing the charity work of marrying that clown show.
Oh man.
Really, Carl? I give you a piece of information now. You make fun of me with butt jokes again.
He says premature stick up his butt. Oh, here's Anthony.
Oh, he's back.
I gotta go to dinner, boys.
All right, man.
Later, but
all right, Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, a.k.a. Jeff from Tampa. Interesting fellow.
For sure.
Anthony LaRocca says, Guy can't stop talking about me. I'm living rent-free in Jeff's head. Tell him I'll send him hockey for dummies in the mail. Oh, man. We got 13 minutes left. By the way, I want to give a shout-out to the birthday boy, Mark Kelly, okay? Mm-hmm. Mark Kelly, and I didn't get a chance to call him. I'm going to call him right after the show. His birthday was on Monday, and I want to wish him a very, very happy birthday because Mark Kelly's a good dude, hard worker, dedicated to the sports world, and a person that I've grown very close with as a brother, as a friend, and as a confidant. So shout out to Mark Kelly. Happy birthday to him.
Yes, happy birthday. I know, Mark, you were texting me on Monday about stuff you were going through. Wishing you all the best with everything with that. Happy birthday, and hope you're doing much better for yourself.
Hopefully. And oh man! So, what stands out to you on some of these stories, Speedies? What are the current events that really stands out to you before we go?
Well, definitely with the franchise tags. We didn't really get into them in full. I wanted to
go through them.
Go into a little of that. Some of the surprising ones that did not get franchise tagged. Aaron Jones was one of them for Green Bay. We've been debating that in the past. I know you said they shouldn't pay him, but I'm surprised that they at least didn't try. Kenny Galladay, another one we thought would both be for Detroit because they really need a lot of receiving help at this point.
Well, we knew he was going to go to free agency.
Yeah, but again, the Lions, they need so much as it is. Why create more holes for yourself? You're already cash strapped as it is. I mean, just try something at that point. That was definitely one of them.
That would be a good fit for the Jets, Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, he would. And the only thing that concerns me with Galladay, two things. One, he's been injury prone in his career. Two, he's really streaky game to game when you look at his season. Even though his season totals have been good for the most part, a lot of it comes in 4 or 5 games. But as a complimentary type guy to go along with Mims, that could definitely be a good option. And a guy that'll take number one coverage. so Mims doesn't have to if they don't get another receiver. That's definitely one. You're looking at some of the other ones. Two safeties, Broncos, Justin Simmons, and Marcus Williams for the Saints. I think two that had to get done. And we were talking about earlier with the Giants, Leonard Williams. Will they get a long-term deal with Dunn is another question. I think they will, but if they don't, I mean, they're stuck with him getting top 5 defensive tackle money.
And we weren't surprised that Juju is not getting franchised.
No.
He's a free agent. He's another guy that if the Jets decide to keep Sam Darnold, he would be a perfect fit for the Jets.
Yeah, the Steelers have a history of getting rid of their receivers after their rookie deals, and it seems like they replenish them well. They really don't, except for when Antonio Brown was a really young player peaking at 2012, 2013, that was really the only stretch they had no receiving depth after that. Then they really find him well, whether it's a short-term type thing or a long-term type thing. They find him well after that, so that didn't surprise me. I just don't know if Juju's going to get number one receiver money like he wants to because he didn't have a great season without Antonio Brown.
Well, he's not going to get it from the Jets, that's for sure.
No, I don't think he would get it from the Jets either. And again, there's a lot of teams that I don't know if they necessarily have receivers as their biggest need, even quote-unquote bad teams. We talked about Jacksonville earlier having the most money. Is a receiver really their biggest need? They got Chark, who's nice. They drafted Laviska Shenault. They've had other young players who played well for them. Are they going to get money from there? Maybe the Patriots, but I don't know if the Patriots are going to go after that kind of guy who dances all over the field and stuff like that, like he does. I can't see that kind of thing happening. So I don't know where that kind of contract is going to come. Maybe the Raiders. Maybe they're looking for something flashy like that, but they need a lot on defense, where I don't know if they can afford to do that either.
And by the way, Brown going to the Patriots, I mean, that's very intriguing, very interesting. And the Patriots are going to do that. They're going to build around the offensive line. They're going to build around the trenches. If old-time football is always known to do that, and Joe Douglas believes in it. The Baltimore Ravens, the Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers, all the old-time teams believe in. Even the New York Giants over the years, they believed in defensive line and offensive line, and that's what usually builds championship competitive teams. The Patriots are very well known to do that, and I think it was a very good move for the New England Patriots. Very surprised Oakland decided to part ways with Trent Brown.
They don't need him because they have our offensive line strong as it is, and they need money for other things. That defense is really bad. Their receivers are nothing special. Outside of, they got Jacobs and Waller, who are great, but outside of that, they don't really have much with the skill players. And again, what they need to do with their young players on the offensive line is just trust them to do what they need to do, and then they can spend money the rest of the way because they haven't drafted well in recent drafts. I hated their draft last year especially, and they need so much on defense because a lot of those young pass rushers haven't come through. So they need that money in other places, and that contract, even at the time, for one great year with the Patriots was horrific.
Oh, yes. Anthony LaRocca says, what do you guys think of the NHL's new 7-year TV deal with ESPN? Wow. I will say this. I always wanted to see ESPN and hockey put back together. I mean, everybody remembers ESPN Hockey Night when we were kids. I remember growing up, and I loved it. And hockey wasn't enough on TV. The only time you can get a chance to watch hockey as a kid was either on MSG with the Rangers or SNY with the Islanders or something of that magnitude. There was never hockey packages. You couldn't watch some of the great hockey plays. You couldn't watch Wayne Gretzky play in LA unless they were playing on ESPN Hockey Night. That was the only time you got a chance to see hockey, in all different areas of the country. So hockey was really, when it came to TV deals, it was really built around ESPN. And ESPN really took hockey to that next level with Bill Pito and Barry Melrose, if you remember, when it had Hockey Night and all that other stuff. So I think this is a great deal for the NHL and a very good deal for ESPN, which ESPN, as far as numbers are concerned, has not been good, Speedy.
Yeah, it's they're trying to expand their variety for sure. We're seeing ESPN, because they've been, I guess, struggling with keeping like their main journalists there, their main broadcasters there. They've compensated for a lot of live games. Obviously, their NBA is still strong, but beyond that, they've kind of fallen apart in other areas. College basketball, college football, they've done well with as well, but again, giving them that other sport definitely gives them a boost, because right now they're limited to only ESPN Plus games, which a lot of people can't afford to get. It's kind of like a premium package for a lot of these people, and that'll definitely help get more viewers and just another bigger network, because really NBC Sports is the only thing that's been carrying on a national level the NHL, at least in America. Obviously in Canada it's a lot bigger, but it gives them another national network like other sports have. NFL has obviously every main network imaginable. MLB's got ESPN. They have their local networks. They got MLB Network. And the NBA is TNT and TBS and all those. And with ESPN.
Which is very popular.
Right,
by the way.
which is insanely popular. Yeah. So the NHL needs that kind of thing to make it work, just to have another dual network rather than just being stuck with the same. Not that the guys are bad with NBC Sports, a lot of them, but just only one network covering it makes it hard. So this will definitely help in terms of getting another streaming and just revenue and viewership, stuff like that.
Oh, Gary Bettman loves this. And some of these teams and some of the owners of the NHL are going to love this because this gives them more money, puts more money in their pockets, especially with endorsements and everything that the NHL are going to get out of this. And the NHL is going to make a lot of money off of this, especially with the commercial deals and the sponsorships. And by the way, now you have the NHL playoffs that could be played on ESPN.
Yeah,
so that's something that the NHL is going to love. They're going to really love that.
Yes, especially if like it always is with the NHL playoffs, the series are good that long, you're going to get more games on it, more revenue in that sense, rather than the 5-game in comparison to the NBA series you see a lot in the first round.
It's crazy. It really is. And I think the NHL needs that. I don't think the NBA on ESPN is doing very well, and I think ESPN realizes that. And hockey with the playoffs, everybody knows hockey and playoffs are –
it's the best series.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best out of all the sports. Hockey playoffs is the best. So being that, and I don't know what kind of deal the ESPN's going to have on that because I don't know if the NBC still controls the games on NBC. Maybe the contracts are going to be different now after the first year or after the second year, where ESPN can actually play some of the games. We used to watch some of the games on USA last year. I think a couple.
Yeah,
of
they
games.
had a couple playoff games. I think they were like kind of that fourth or fifth tier channel for the playoff games because NBC Sports had some of it, then it was like CNBC and MSNBC had some and stuff like that. But yeah, they had a couple of the first round games.
It's so interesting. It really is. And I'll tell you this, with March Madness right around the corner, everything happening in sports right now, I think the NHL really needs to solidify who they are as an organization. I think Gary Bettman, as much as I don't like the man, I don't like him as a commissioner. Then again, I don't really like any of the commissioners. And after Adam Silver sitting back and not saying anything about these anti-Semitic terms and things, I'm not a big fan of his either. So
there's no good commissioner.
There really isn't. There really isn't any good commissioners.
There's controversy in college. There's controversy in the Olympics. If you wanted to go there, like every sport has it somewhere.
Anthony says ESPN, ABC are going to have the rights to 4 of the next 7 finals, which is interesting.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty big right away.
Yes, and especially for the ESPN. And I think that helps a lot of the hockey fans because a lot of hockey fans remember ESPN and Hockey Night. I did, and I used to love it. And I think that really drew me as a fan to tune in every Sunday and Monday or even Saturday nights to watch hockey on those channels. So
yeah, from what I hear, it was definitely very popular. Obviously, a little before my time. I remember the first one I remember with ESPN with hockey was a video game, but
yes,
I remember older people telling me it was definitely very popular at the time.
Super
and
Nintendo,
a lot of the analysts that they have there now were play-by-play broadcasters or color commentators at the time, and they really made it work to the extent where it was entertaining value, which sometimes hockey, again, throughout the season, because it's not talked about as much, you kind of need that extra entertainment value and those types of personalities to make it work. And that could end up working for them, too, if they have the right guys.
By the way, Duke is up on Louisville, 51-39.
Wow, that's really big. It was only a 1-point game at halftime. So Duke is really come out.
They need to win this game.
And Louisville's been hot too, which is making a big difference as well. They had one bad dud at the end of the season against Notre Dame, but beyond that, they were coming in on I think a 7-game win streak, and they've gotten themselves into the tournament picture too. But this is not going to look good for them. It's going to look really good for Duke, though.
If they win this game, I mean, maybe they sneak into the
well, they're going to probably need, I would say, 2 more other wins in the ACC. I don't know if they necessarily have to win the ACC tournament, but they're going to need another tier 1 type win. And they're a 10 seed, so maybe they end up playing a 1 seed, which is Virginia, or 2 seed, which is Florida State.
I wouldn't be surprised if they knock one of those teams off either.
I would laugh if they beat Virginia.
I know you don't like Virginia.
They're not. Kansas is my number 1 enemy in college basketball.
Is Speedy going to root for the Seattle Krakens next year? Heard he's abandoning.
I'm not going to abandon the Rangers, but I will root for the Kraken just because he doesn't like them.
I can't stand that name. I can't.
That and Hawaii Rainbow Warriors are Errol's two least favorite names.
Two of the worst names creation known to man when it comes to sports. Okay. The Hawaiian Rainbow Men and obviously the Krakens. I mean, they should have called them Seattle Grunge. I've said this over and over again. Grunge rock comes from Seattle. It makes more, at least, or call them Seattle serial killers because that's where most of the serial killers come from. I call them something, not the Krakens.
That'd be a bad look. I
don't know. I'm just saying it's better than the Krakens. I mean, give me a break. Terrible name. Terrible.
I don't think you want to be portrayed as that as a player.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Maybe have Ted Bundy on your jersey.
Jeez.
Could you imagine that? Ted Bundy as your jersey? I mean, as your logo? That would be funny.
Yeah, I don't know how many players are going to go there.
The Seattle serial killers.
Anthony does say Gary Thorne as the next announcer. Yeah, that would be good. I would definitely like that. I have listened to him broadcast hockey, and he's actually pretty good with baseball too. From the couple of broadcasts
Lou says no one abandons the New York Rangers.
No, our host of the show did when he was a kid. So Lou clearly hasn't been listening to the show enough.
Oh man! By the way, Anthony says, can they replicate the success the Knights had?
That will be hard. Maybe.
No.
Again, no. NHL playoffs, anything could happen.
Definitely.
I don't think the regular season success they'll be able to duplicate because teams are going to be a lot more careful with what they did. Not like we saw with Vegas, what Minnesota was giving them, and Florida and teams like that. All obviously, the Penguins were going to trade Fleury anyway, but everything they were really just
not a
giving
chance
them,
in hell.
Yeah, there was a lot of dumb decisions that a lot of those organizations made to get Vegas the young talent that they had. Give Vegas some credit; they did made a lot of other guys work. Like William Karlsson came out of nowhere. A lot of their defensemen came out of nowhere. But again, a lot of it was gifted with top prospects and stuff too, where they were able to now trade for Stone and Pacioretty and guys like that. But again, anything can happen in the playoffs where that could be, all right, they're an expansion team, we'll take it lightly, maybe they make a run. In terms of winning the division like Vegas did and being a number 1 seed in the West,
not a chance in hell.
I can't see that.
It's not happening. Definitely not happening. Lou says, no first time listening, but I'm enjoying it. Thank you, Lou.
Well, now you know. Now you know that's the backstory of Errol's
love talking
hockey
about
fanhood.
hockey,
He
yes.
started out as a Ranger fan,
yeah.
And then...
Why do we have to bring this up?
Because Lou needs to know the story.
I grew up a Ranger fan till the age of 11. They traded John Van Beesbrook. I became an Islander fan at the age of 14 years old. Van Beesbrook made his run with the Florida Panthers. I rooted on. I was really one of the first front runners in NHL history. You
were one of the first Florida Panthers fans, and now there's not many of them left.
I revolutionized, being a front runner when it came to professional sports. Now everybody's a front runner. Everybody becomes. In the olden days, it was all about your team. Now it's all about the player with fantasy sports, and now you'd rather wear your favorite player's jersey than your favorite team. I mean, not me. I stick with my team. LOL.
Maybe I'll get a Seattle Kraken jersey just for that.
Shout out to Lou. Thank you for listening to the show. We really appreciate it. Keep following us. Follow up. By the way, follow our app. If you don't have our app, go to iOS, which is Apple, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. All our articles, all our stories, all our clips, our shows are all on there. We really appreciate you listening to us. Well, Speedy, that is it, man. I actually have some. Who do we got? I have to talk to. I have some kids that I have to talk to.
You got some kids to talk about. Talk to.
Yes, I'll talk about. What do you think? I'm a crazy lunatic or something? Talk about. Jesus,
well, you're crazy,
Speedy.
but yeah, you wouldn't do that.
No, I've got some interns that I'm going to be talking about. Some writers that are going to join our network and write for us that are going to get college credits. So. That's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We have any shows tonight?
Not tonight. Tomorrow we got Ryan Hickey in the morning from 9 to 11 a.m. We got the B Show from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and Chaz and Sports Betting Weekly 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 to 6 p.m. their time.
Well, that's a good lineup, guys. So if you like betting and you want to make some money, some of the best handicap guys on that show. If you guys like to bet on sports, it's definitely something that you have to check out. We have a great lineup of shows. Go check out our app. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. We appreciate all the fans that tune in to us every single day. Keep listening to us. There's a lot of big things happening, especially on the big FM dials. And listen to our show on the FM dial on the LI News Radio Network. You can go to iHeartRadio if you're not here in Long Island in a 60-mile radius, but you can hear our show on 103.9. So,
by the way, best of luck on Friday with your surgery.
Thank
as well.
you. Thank you. Yes, I'm getting my neck surgery on Friday, my disc replacement. Definitely scary, guys, as an athlete and all the things and the trials and tribulations that I've been going through over the last couple of months. And it's definitely scary having somebody, practically slice your throat and put a new disc in that you've had practically your whole life. Well, your whole life, 38 years. It's scary. But hopefully it's speedy recovery, and I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here next week. Even with the surgery, I will be doing the show no matter what. So I'm going to be here entertaining you guys, and even on 103.9 on Saturday. So it's crazy, but I will be doing it. That's it, guys. We will be back. LI News Radio, the 103.9 show, the Weekend Crunch. We will be back on Saturday at 7 p.m. Check us out. Or you can listen to us on Monday and Wednesday. Down to the Wire on Monday at 6 p.m. and Below the Mic at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Until then, this is Errol Marks and Mr. Tidy Whitey Man himself, Speedy Petey, saying good night. And we'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.